right, Mr. Latham, we are ready to begin.
All right, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We'll go ahead and call the board meeting to order. This meeting will be conducted entirely via video conferencing. The public may view and listen to the meeting at the following live stream URL, www.metrotech.edu/mtc-live. We'll go ahead and do the roll call. And Joanne, will you call the roll?
Mr. Perry,
Here.
Ms. McKinney, Ms. Richards, Dr. Teray,
Present.
Ms. Campos,
I'm here.
and Mr. Latham.
Here.
6 present.
Okay, we have a quorum. Let's move on to the character trait of the month. And looks like Miss Bertha Robinson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Metro Tech Board of Education, Mr. Aaron Collins, Superintendent CEO, Metro Tech staff, students, and community. The character trait for February 2021. Honesty, being truthful in what I say and do. No legacy is so rich as honesty, by William Shakespeare. Living life to the fullest requires being completely honest with yourself. Honesty helps you understand your strengths and weaknesses, allowing you to be your most authentic self, trustworthy, genuine, dependable, and reliable. Living life to the fullest requires being completely honest with yourself. Honesty helps you understand your strengths. Accept honesty. We must be honest. In order to grow, it is necessary to listen, learn, and accept feedback from others. You may pass over others' input or opinions that may lead to another conversation. It is worth the time and effort to think before reacting. Practice self-awareness. One way to practice honesty is to start by being honest with yourself. Try to increase your own self-awareness. Think before acting. As a trusted friend, provide honest feedback. The power of honesty. Honesty means being sincere. Honesty is a reflection of yourself and your true feelings. If you want people to know who you really are, just be honest. Honesty shows courage. It takes an immense amount of courage to say what you feel. It is difficult and takes practice and patience. Honesty shows you care. When you're honest with yourself and others, it shows how much you really care. When people experience a caring attitude, it makes them stop and think. Honesty shows maturity. Honesty fosters a connection. Honesty can bring people closer. It forms a bond or connection. Some individuals involved may be working with some very painful issues. Honesty feels and gives a good feeling. It feels great to be genuine and say what we feel, especially when it is well received. Honesty will attract honesty. If honesty is truly important to you and it is practiced regularly, you will soon attract the same type of people into your life. The Character Core magazine included an article emphasis on honesty. Honesty and transparency builds relationships which make the organization. Relationships are the building blocks. As leaders, we are empowered to build trust and loyalty in employees, students, community, and customers. Transparency and honesty lead to powerful outcomes and builds relationships, which makes the organization. Teams are empowered to work together with a high level of trust. Some ways to become a well-respected leader start with trust. Consider the setting, share only with persons affected. Lead with empathy. Get the details first, seek to understand, and to be understood. Create psychological safety. Focus on what you can hear and see. not what you think may be going on beneath the surface. In summary, tell yourself the truth. Be honest with yourself. Listen and assist others. Tell others the truth. Trust builds relationships. Telling others the trust builds, strengthens, and deepens relationships. And lastly, be true. Be a leader with integrity and do what you say you will do. Lead by examples and inspire others. Thank you.
Very, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. We will move on to the Superintendent's Report. Superintendent Collins.
Thank you. It's good to afternoon to everyone, and it's good to see you, even if it is virtually. And thank you for everyone being here. I'm grateful to our maintenance, grounds, and custodial teams. They have done an excellent job of preparing our campus to be ready after inclement weather, during inclement weather, and while we have inclement weather. And so grateful to that team. In just a moment, Derek Lawless will give us an update on the water damage and the current cost and what's going on with that. And so in just a moment, Derek will be giving us an update on that damage, as we had campus, some problems throughout various campuses due to the freezing weather. Great for Melanie and her team, the assistance that they provided with insurance and assisting with that throughout this process. They've done an excellent job, and grateful to them. Grateful to the ITC faculty and staff and their flexibility in dealing with that building. Had a few faculty that also dealt with some water issues in B, as well as HCC, and their flexibility and determination, and still able to accept students and have students in other areas, but they're able to have class. And so we're so grateful for the team that we have all working together. And so that's just great. Also, before we have Derek come in, I just want to mention three more items. We received the final accreditation report. I'm grateful to Oklahoma Career Tech Education Board, Superintendent Hoffmeister, Dr. Mack for their support during this process. Grateful that accreditation was approved. Yay, Metro Tech. So many people behind the scenes and dealing with that, and Randa making sure we were in the right places at the right time. Really appreciate that, and all the teams that met for that. Also here, Dr. Teray and Ms. Campos were involved in that as well, and met with the accreditation team. So we're thankful for their participation in that. And so I'm glad now an opportunity. We have a team that is looking at the areas of improvement and creating a plan then for that. Those were given to the board, also to administrators, and will be given to faculty and staff tonight in an email after our board meeting. Excited about the opportunity to support Central Oklahoma Workforce Innovation Board at 5005 North Lincoln Boulevard. And so that item, of course, is on the board agenda today in the lease. Just again, to remind ourselves about that, just really excited about that opportunity to be able to assist our community by offering adult basic education there at that building, having a person there then full-time to sign up communities for full-time and short-time classes. What happens, or has happened in the past with this one shop, is that they would tell an individual, okay, this is who you need to go see, this is where you need to go. But once they left the building, they didn't get to those places. And so Metro Tech having a presence there, I'm grateful to Kim Chapman and her inviting Metro Tech to be a part of that and to be in this building, and to have a person there, and to Department of Labor asked that they have an educational partner. And so grateful that they asked Metro Tech to be that educational partner and to do adult basic education. Thank you to Mike Glover and Channel 9. Did an excellent story in their Something Good column that they do. And so it's about our nursing recertification and CNA program. I'm grateful for that. Our media and marketing department, Kathy Story and Cindy Friedman, setting that up for us. in being able to do that and those that participated. I won't steal the thunder, but we'll get a copy of that and to send that to the board members and to post that and repost that on our social media as well. Excellent job, and thank you to Channel 9. If there's no questions for me, I'll go ahead and ask Derek on. But President Latham, is it okay to answer any questions? And then we'll have Mr. Derek get on. And as he's getting on, he'll be able to give us more updates on the facilities.
Yes, sir.
Any questions before Mr. Lawless presents on the current status of our buildings? Derek, thank you to you. And I know you have had some nights where I believe you and yourself and Mike Hoyer and some others actually may have spent the night on a cot or on a couch to be able to get some rest while you guys were up here. So, Mr. Lawless, take it away.
Well, thank you, Mr. Collins. Goes without saying, it's been 121 years since Oklahoma as a state, since 1899 has seen these kind of temperatures. So let's just hope and pray that it's another 121 years.
Yes, sir.
I'm just going to start with a campus by campus list of what was damaged, and at any point in time, I'll stop after each building. You can ask questions, whatever you need to know. I will do my very best to answer. We're going to start with the big ticket item. I hate to use that term, but the Information Technology Center building, which is located on our Spring Lake campus at 1800 Spring Lake Drive. We had a mainline boiler, domestic, the freshwater supply line for the boiler loop failure in room 208 on the second floor. We did receive a boiler alarm, and we responded very, very quickly. But in just literally a matter of an hour or a little bit less than an hour, because we were all down at South Bryant working on a leak. Enough water came out of that water line. Also, a smaller line burst. And also the manifold on one of the boilers failed and cracked in half. So there was also leakage out of the boiler. The boiler was brand new. We just had those installed, the 2 new boilers in November. But the water then flowed down the hallway and then through the walls of that second floor level in the ITC building. It flowed through the ceiling, through an open pipe, a pipe penetration in a corner of a storage closet there on that second floor. It's right there connected to the entrepreneurship classroom, and dropped down into the first floor, which I honestly, every surface in that first floor level was covered with water. Most of it up to 1 inch deep, 1.25 inches deep, from the west end of the building all the way to the east end. I will say that the classroom, the 125, that would be the graphic design classroom. It didn't have extensive water damage. The water did penetrate into the carpet in the around the edges of the walls and through the doorways, but that's the only area that water literally did not completely saturate on the first level. We have activated with Smith and Pickle, as you can imagine, all over the United States, especially in the part of the world we live in. All of the emergency responding crews, ServPro, and those environmental cleanup teams, they're deployed all over. Most of them are in Texas right now. So we couldn't get a crew out. Smith and Pickle assembled a crew of their own employees and sent them up, and we immediately started. We got the water shut off. We immediately got the water vacuumed up. They brought in fans and humidifiers, and those things were going nonstop until today. ServPro took over and Melanie might talk a little bit about that, but they're working through our insurance company. ServPro came, they tore all the cove base off of the bottom of the floors at the bottom of the drywall, and they drilled holes in the drywall in order to force warm ambient air up into the walls, because we have significant moisture accumulation within the walls of the first floor, and the second floor does have some water damage as well in the walls, but it's not as significant as it is on the first floor. But they started that today. Now we're looking at a 3 to 5 day drying out process for the ITC building. And when that is complete, they will come in. They've already got the setup started for air quality measurements, but they will come in and take periodic moisture measurements of the drywall to make sure it reaches a certain threshold until it's dry. And when they tell us it's dry, then Smith and Pickle is going to follow up and do a restorative remodel, if you will. They're replacing drywall as needed, cove base. We are having the carpets professionally cleaned and sanitized and ready for occupancy. And we've got a timeline worked out for occupancy with students back in and using all the classrooms for that week following spring break, which is the 22nd of March. So that is, in a nutshell, what happened at ITC Building. Anyone have any questions or need any clarification on that?
Thank you for all the effort, Derek.
Okay, well, moving right on to the Business Conference Center. We had actually 2 incidents in Room J, which you're all familiar with. It's where we hold the board meetings when we're in person. Well, before pre-COVID. And we had a sprinkler head, 2 sprinkler heads in there freeze and pop off. We had some minimal water drainage on the floor. We got that shut off, got the fire alarm systems drained, and then literally 2 days after that, and I apologize, I would tell you the dates, but it's all running together so hard, I can't even remember when some of the stuff happened. It was so crazy, and I apologize for that, but I'm just being honest with you. A couple of days after that, a domestic water line in the ceiling in Room J, which if you're standing in the boardroom and looking back into the hallway into the main building, to your left, which would be to the west, that portico that's out there that's covered, the covered patio area out there, the water line traveled through that area up above the ceiling. It burst and it flooded all of Room J into the hallway, across the hallway, through the meeting rooms A, B, C, and D, into the water was in the back service hall behind that. So all that carpet was saturated. Of course, we have moisture accumulation in the drywall, in the interior walls. So we're doing the same process. We've removed the cove base, drilled holes in the walls, and we're going to pump warm ambient air into those wall areas to dry the moisture up. So that process has started as well. We're also going to have our own custodial company that we contract with to provide extra labor. They're going to clean those carpets and disinfect those carpets as well for us. And that, in a nutshell, is really what happened. Of course, we've got the water lines all capped off. We had the plumber come out, got it taken care of very quickly, which I was very thankful for. So that's really the extent of the damage in in the building conference center, which, you know, we're doing hourly fire walks. There's, you know, we have a presence still now because the fire alarm systems are not armed with the wet system. So we had a lot of eyes on the buildings, and we were able to respond pretty rapidly. This leak in BCC happened about 1 o'clock in the morning, and security notified Melanie Stinnett. Melanie Stinnett notified Mr. Holyer and myself, and got up there as quick as we could, got it taken care of. So that really is the damage in BCC. The restoration process is again already underway with the drying and the fans and things like that. And of course, our custodians are helping with that, with water extraction out of the carpets, and everybody's doing their part. We had a couple of incidents at South Bryant campus. Well, actually, we had 3. The first one, and it happened the same night that we had the boiler failure there in ITC. The manifold for the irrigation systems froze and busted open in front of the automotive center, and we got a call from the police department to one of our teachers who contacted me. Hey, you guys have a lot of water running out into South Bryant Avenue. So, and it actually, we were notified pretty quickly. So we got down there and got that taken care of. That was on Tuesday. And then I believe it was on Thursday, we had a domestic water line in the ceiling break in B building in the construction trades classroom, which, if you have a map, is 108B. And that water line, of course, was above the ceiling grid, and it damaged several tiles and created quite the waterworks show in the classroom area there. We got that shut down and capped off and cleaned up. Our custodians did a great job with that, extracting the water. And the best thing that happened about that down at South Bryant, if you're familiar with that area, it's all the walls and stuff are all the concrete block, so we don't have the moisture issues on the flooring with the carpet, because it's the classroom and shops on that end are all just bare hard surface flooring, and then of course in the shop it's just concrete. But so we don't have the moisture issues to deal with. Thank goodness there. The next day we had a serious the mechanical room in B building, which is 106. Yes, 106. We had 6 water line failures in there, and quite honestly, if you've been to Las Vegas and seen the fountains at the Bellagio, it looked like the Bellagio fountains in there. Water was coming out of the door, through the louver vents, in the door. It was pretty wild looking. But we got the water turned off. Got a plumber was down there today to finalize all the repairs and check those off. So building B is back online, and thank goodness nearly 99% of the water, that water just went outside. So we had very, very small amounts of water in the building. One was in a storage closet area. There was no classroom damage from that. So we got really, really lucky with that. And like I said, most of the water just went outside. So that's been taken care of. And we had back up at Spring Lake campus, we did have some sprinkler heads fail in room 122A in the Health Career Center. That water, again, also brick wall, so we don't have drywall to worry about, but the carpet was saturated in the hallway on the very east end of that wing, past the student break area where it's got the tile floor. That carpet will be cleaned professionally. Matter of fact, I believe that was cleaned last night. I'm gonna double check that, but that's all been cleaned up. And basically, we really all we have left to do is replace ceiling tiles. And after Miss Zanette has Fire Troll give the final okay on the pressure test for the fire alarm systems, then we're going to go back and replace all the tiles. We just want to not put up new tiles just yet until we make sure there's no more leaks. But that is, in a nutshell, kind of what I lied. There was one more. We had a faucet in the Perry Clausen Clinic yesterday freeze and break in one of the laboratory rooms. It was just a domestic water line situation. We turned the water off of the valve under the sink. We have ordered a new faucet that should be in within the week. We'll have that replaced for the clinic. And that is the complete rundown of all of the water damage that we've had in the district the past week.
I have a question. Would it be prudent for us to survey, take an idea that we might want to wrap those pipes with heat tape or some kind of insulating material?
Absolutely. And a lot of our stuff is wrapped with heat tape. And
Yeah, Derek, if I may, that you're right, absolutely. And what Derek is saying there too is most of them are, Mr. McKinney, again, I think Mr. Lawless told us 1899. So, and some of that, as you know, I'm grateful because it could be a lot worse. What happened is we did drain the suppression system, so that helped immensely. So grateful for that. They'll be testing that, I believe, tomorrow and the next day and the next couple of days. So we'll be filling those back up. All fire alarms are working. It's the suppression system in some buildings that are down as we drain them to be able to do this. And now we're getting them tested and getting them back up and running. Hopefully we don't find any more leaks. I'd say the other thing is too, is the carpet is being cleaned. I believe tonight is what Miss Shauna just texted. And so that is being worked on. I apologize, Derek. Mr. McKinney, was there any other questions that
I
you
was wondering if we needed to make sure everything that broke obviously was not wrapped or heat wrapped. And do we need to consider doing that? Is that
Yeah,
true?
so on the one pipe, so there was a pipe that was, all the pipes, and I saw pictures, were wrapped. They may have, it got cold. I mean, it just got cold. One pipe in the J, let me just explain real quick there. J, for those that don't know, I think most everyone does know, is not original to the building. So when they ran the piping for J, it is actually in the soffit. And so it gets very, very cold in that soffit. It is not inside. So we have talked about that, Mr. McKinney, and making sure that we put insulation there. B building, as you know, is B building. And so we are little by little working on that and preparing that. On HCC, that was a pan that fell and hit a sprinkler, but that's good. Again, the systems were drained to prevent ruptures on the suppression system. And then you just had an elbow that failed at ITC. I mean, that was just flat out what happened that caused so much damage at ITC. And we're grateful that Smith and Pickle is right there on there helping us with that.
Mr. Collins,
Yes, sir.
do you expect that insurance will pay for the majority of these repairs?
Yes, sir. And that was the discussion in number 2 that I discussed about Melanie and her team's on it. They're talking to them on a moment by moment basis. We are creating an Excel spreadsheet through coding and coding it correctly. As you know, Smith and Pickle was also bonded for that and insurance on that as well.
Thank you.
Mhm.
well, if there's any more questions, I'd be happy to answer your questions. Okay, let's talk
Good
about
job.
more stuff.
Thank you. Thank you
Well-
and your team for the excellent work.
Well, we have great employees, and they, you
Great.
know, they went above and beyond this week, and
Appreciate it.
our maintenance staff, specifically Mr. Hollier and Mr. David Hopkins, they lived up here. They slept on the couch, and it was pretty wild, but you know, we've got good people working, and they were doing their part, so they're glad to do it.
And Mr. Perry, as a follow-up, you are correct on the BCC ITC. Hartford did accept that as one claim, as one deductible.
Good.
I think that helps with your question.
All right, well, that is all I have, Mr. Collins.
Thank you, Derek. President Latham.
Yeah, thanks, Derek, and thanks, team, for taking on all that. I know that that's never fun when you're dealing with your own personal home and all of that kind of stuff to have to work at the same time, but it means a lot to us as a board to know that it's always in good hands. So really appreciate that. Looks like next up is presentations and recognitions. So Superintendent Collins, I'll turn it over to you for that.
Wonderful. I appreciate that. I'd like to introduce then Mr. Joel Rogers, Director of our evening programs. And so Mr. Rogers is the first one to present today. I see Joel on here. He may be having technical difficulties. Mr. Martin, are you prepared? And we could go ahead and while we're, oh, there's Mr. Rogers. There we go. Go ahead, Mr. Rogers. I apologize.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was just lagging for a moment there. So good evening, Mr. Collins, board members. Appreciate you guys taking an opportunity this evening to look at one of our student spotlights in our evening programs. This month, I wanted to introduce to you all an extraordinary young man, Mr. Ronaldo James. Mr. James is actually, he has fans at multiple campuses. He was a student at Millwood High School and attended Mary Tran, our pre-engineering program at STEM. And so there are several faculty members over there that got to work with Ronaldo. And Ronaldo is now back with us. He's in our evening electrical program. And a lot of the comments and things that I find about Mr. James are similar in both cases. Everyone talks about his positive attitude. I know that is one of the highlights of my evening when I get to go through our electrical program. Mr. James is always smiling. He's always got a good attitude. He's always working. He's really just a model student. And I know that early on in his training, he given an opportunity to go to work in the electrical field, and his Tom King, which owns the company that Mr. James works for, said of him that if we have more people like him, send them to his company. So that's exactly what you want to hear. He's doing a really good job. So I don't want to share too much more. I want to allow Mr. James to share his story at this time. So thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ronaldo James II, as Mr. Rogers said, and I'd like to thank everyone for having me. And today I'd just like to briefly talk about my journey to where I am now. So like Mr. Rogers said, I did attend Metro Tech and Millwood. And at Metro Tech, I was able to find help in deciding which engineering major I wanted to study at OSU. And the major I chose ended up being mechanical engineering. But by the time I started OSU, I changed my major to mechanical aerospace engineering. And the 2 years I was at OSU, I had time to tour engineering and aeronautics companies and my organization allowed a few guest speakers to come speak to my organization about once or twice every semester. And the more I learned about MEA, the more I realized that it really wasn't for me. I realized, being a mechanical aerospace engineer, you had to work at a desk most of the time. And me, I'm more of a hands-on type of person, so that really wasn't going to work out. So by the end of my semester, when my semester was over, and when my lease was up at my apartment, I moved back to Oklahoma. And by that time, I had decided that I was going to indulge in a skilled trade. But at the time, I wasn't sure which trade I was going to start with. So by the time I enrolled, I had chose electrical. And ever since I've been here, I loved everything about it. Mr. Jameson, he's a great teacher. He's very inviting. The atmosphere was inviting. And I just love learning about electricity altogether. So a few weeks to a month into the class, another student was asking about a resume and needing help with that for a job. And at the time, I needed help with my resume as well, because I was working at FedEx overnight and it really wasn't working for me. So after I completed my resume, a few days later, Mr. Jameson brought in a couple job applications for Tom King Electric. And I took the application and my new and improved resume. I went up there and turned it in. The day I turned it in, actually, I got interviewed. And the next day I got a call back saying that I had got the job. So the following Monday, I started work. And one thing I can say I love about being in school and working at the same time is that school and work really do complement each other. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel it's a real blessing that I'm able to learn what I can apply and apply what I can learn at the same time. So basically, I'm getting paid to learn. And to end it, I would like to give a few of my short and long-term goals. So my short-term goals being, I will graduate Metro Tech, the electrical program. I will get my limited journeyman's license, which will take a couple more years, but it will get done. And later on down the road, I would like to become a contractor. And eventually, if I have the financial freedom, I would love to invest in real estate. And to end it all, I like to give a short story from past Christmas. So Christmas morning, actually, I was working on a little project for my grandfather, because earlier that week he had asked me to install a TV in the bathroom because he got a new tub, so he wanted to watch TV while he could bathe. So that morning, I ran into a little trouble. So I called Mr. Jameson. Surprisingly, he answered. I called him at 8 o'clock in the morning, Christmas morning. So yes, surprisingly, he answered. And when he answered, he says, "Please don't tell me you're calling about work." And one thing I could say was, yeah, Mr. Jameson, I am, because work never ends. But after he helped me with the problem, I was able to finish in time before my grandfather woke up. And I surprised him with the TV, and it was working and everything, and he was pretty happy. And here I am today.
Good work.
All right, great job.
Well, there's only one question you'll never be able to answer as a spark chaser. That's how do you get that blue smoke back in the box?
That's something you can't do.
Too late.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing, Ronaldo.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah,
No
we
problem.
appreciate you taking the time to join us tonight. So thank you.
And again, thank you all for having me.
Mm-hmm.
Keep doing
You're
it.
determined. You're going to meet your goals. You can come back and tell us about them in about 3 years.
If I have the time, I will.
Okay.
Maybe he can adjunct for us, Dr. Teray.
Perhaps. Dream big.
Always.
I will warn you, as somebody who invests in some real estate, I don't know if you saw how many pipes froze up, but it may not be a really great investment if you're going to have like 100-year freeze. So I can tell you I had a lot of pipes I've been dealing with this week. My update would sound a lot like Derek's. So be careful what you wish for on that one.
I will.
Superintendent Collins, do we have David Martin next? Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And again, thank you, Ronaldo. Thank you for sharing your personal story. About yourself
No problem at all.
With Metro Tech. And you gave us a perfect example of what we're trying to do here, Metro Tech. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is what we do.
Mr. Martin.
I'm out of there. Oh my goodness.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Board members, good evening. Faculty and staff, good evening. On March 12, 2020, the nation was rattled by the realization of the worldwide shutdown due to the spread of the coronavirus. In order to return to some sense of regular operations, Metro Tech developed a re-entry plan, which included the vital role of contact tracing. Contact tracers need to quickly locate and talk with faculty, staff, and students, assist in arranging for faculty, staff, and students to isolate themselves and work with them to identify people with whom they may have been in close contact, so the contact tracers can locate them. A priority for contact tracing in any situation, especially education, requires a keen understanding for the need for confidentiality. Additionally, excellent and tactful interpersonal skills, interviewing skills, and cultural sensitivity are a must. Our contact tracing team has had the necessary training via Johns Hopkins University, a major cog working side by side with the CDC. Our safety has been a #1 priority, and the results have shown. It brings me great pleasure to recognize our ESRA department this evening, the backbone for the district's contact tracing implementation and deployment. Melanie Stinnett, Chief Officer and Metro Tech employee of 21 years. Laura Belden, Environmental Safety Coordinator and Metro Tech employee of 11 years. And Trish Potter, Senior Administrative Assistant, Metro Tech employee for 17 years. Please recognize those individuals for the outstanding work they have done since August and moving forward. I'd ask that if you had any questions for those individuals, because they have some great stats. I know they can time is of the essence, but there are some great stats that you might want to hear. And if Melanie would just present them in expeditiously, that would be great.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Certainly, I'd be happy to do that. First of all, I want to give credit where credit is due. We're very, very lucky, very fortunate in Metro Tech because we have on staff Ms. Laura Belden, who is in fact a master's degree industrial hygienist, and she has extensive background in not only workplace safety but in public health. So I do have to tip my hat to her because this would not have been able to get off the ground without her expertise. I do have some stats, as Mr. Martin mentioned, that I can present to you very quickly. Our contact tracing mechanisms and including exposure reporting, symptom reporting platforms, and also our daily health screening were built from the ground up by Laura with the express lockstep assistance of the IT department, Rebecca Russell. So this was not something that we purchased. This was actually built from the ground up between March and rollout in August 18th of 2020. Since August 18th of 2020, we have had exactly 60 T1 students, T1 meaning that they were COVID positive students at Metro Tech. We have had 29 T1 employees, COVID positive employees at Metro Tech. Since the August 18th, we have contact traced and we have worked on 461 instances. That is COVID positive students and employees, people who have been exposed and reported their exposure, not exposed at Metro Tech, but have reported from outside the institution. And we have contact traced and touched every single one of those 461 instances personally. I think it's also important to point out too, and I know this is probably at the back of some people's minds, how many people at Metro Tech did in fact contract COVID-19 at Metro Tech. When it comes to employee transmissions, we have only had 2 confirmed transmissions at Metro Tech. So of all of our stats I've just presented to you, 2 work-related transmissions between employees resulting from patient 0 is equal to 0.43% of all of our contact traced incidents. And again, I will tip my hat to Laura Belden. This could not have been done without her. With our partnership with the OSDH, Becky Kaufman in epidemiology, and the absolute professionalism, confidentiality, and discretion of both Laura and Trish Potter in contacting and touching every single one of those 461 instances. So that is what I wanted to impart to everyone, that we are I'm personally grateful, professionally grateful, but I think that for a team of 3, I think that this is data that I am extremely proud to present. And I would put that up against any higher ed institution in Oklahoma or anywhere in the country.
Congratulations. That's good information, good data.
Thank you. And everyone in the district has helped with this. It's social distancing, reporting, consistent and very honest use to the daily health screen. Everyone has fed into this, but it has been truly a team effort. And I'm really grateful to the women that I serve with.
Are you still taking daily temperatures?
Yes, that is one of the gates that has to be crossed to enter Metro Tech. Yes, it's a daily health screening for people who are subscribed.
Okay.
And temperature checking on a regular basis before you enter. Thank you for that question.
Thank you.
Mr. Collins, that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Good work.
Thank you, team. We'll move on to item C, the treasurer's report. Mr. Bruce Campbell.
Good evening to each of you. It's good
Good
to be
evening.
here with you this evening. I have a brief treasurer's report this evening. I can report that the district is in very good financial condition at this point in the fiscal year, and that our ad valorem collections are just right on track with where they're supposed to be. So we're moving into that phase of budgeting for fiscal year 22, identifying information that will be important to make sure we put together a good budget, which will help us to deliver excellent programs and fulfill our mission for fiscal year 22. Be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
You are liquid.
Certainly we are, yes.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Campbell?
Mr. Campbell, this is Linda. You know what I found remarkable is in your report, the prior year ad valorem taxes have exceeded expectations. I'm trying to figure out with last year, how is that possible? But I mean, that's great news, but I thought that was remarkable.
Well, it was an area of concern that we had because we were uncertain how the pandemic elections, but we do keep track of that data from one year to the next and week by week. And we are able to say with confidence that at this point in the fiscal year, we're right where we should be.
It's all right. That's good.
So it's very good. Thank you for that comment.
Any other questions or comments?
I'm sorry, Matt, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Dr. Toure, I think that's another celebration that we can celebrate and the board can say thank you to our community.
Thank you
for the support and thank you to the businesses and paying these on time, and we're so grateful for that, and that helps us to be able to streamline and keep rolling. So we're grateful to our businesses and to our community for their support.
Yes. Yes, we are. Okay, thank you very much.
Bruce.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Superintendent Collins, you want to go over some upcoming events?
Yes, sir. Again, we're grateful to legislatures and being able to do these board meetings virtually. And so we'll do that on March 16th again at 5:30. Also, don't forget about spring break. So no students Friday, March 17th through the 19th, and that our offices will be closed March 18th and 19th, but we'll see each other earlier that week. And the Aviation Maintenance Technology Program spring graduation that has been canceled. When we get more information, we'll send that to you. National School Board Association 2021 conference, that the online conference is April 8th through the 10th. And I believe you received notification through email and various sources from NSBA on that. The Foundation Annual Sowing the Seeds of Success Banquet that we've discussed from time to time is April 29th, 6:30 to 9:30. Again, that can be seen in person or virtual. So board members are invited to that in person, but do have an opportunity to be there virtually as well. Of course, if we are in red, we will not be having it. And so we'll keep you updated as we receive more information on that. And the Greater Oklahoma City Hispanic Chamber of Commerce annual anniversary gala, remember that was supposed to have been in December and was moved to June 4th.
Thank you very much for that. On to board member reports. Do we have any board member reports?
Yes, President Latham. Last board meeting, I asked Michael Branch to offer up some insight onto the number of people who've completed the program and then went on to get their certificates. Because as I understand it, without certificates, their employability is vastly impaired. And he told me that in the last 5 years, that 68% of the people who completed the program got their certificate. And my question for a further question would be, how do we feel about that as acceptability? Has it, the last 5 years it's been this way, but when I first joined the board, it seemed like that the percentage was much higher, but I can't remember what it was. So I'd like to think about that, because that program is a very important program to Oklahoma City. It's a program that's very important to the people that do get the certificates. And I'd just like to see if we couldn't raise those percentages some.
So we can get more information and have Mr. Branch speak to us more. What we didn't ask and what the number we did not get is how many, though, even though they did not complete, went on into aviation. From what I understand, they are really grabbing them quickly once they have some basic skills now. And that has changed a little bit about the certification, but we can look into that more to make sure that we're supporting our students and have Mr. Branch present for us. Absolutely, Mr. Perry.
Okay, thank you. He did a good job giving me what I asked for the other day, but I thought he also told me that without the certification, he told me, I don't know if it's right or wrong, that Tinker wouldn't hire him.
You're talking about specific, right? Right. There's that. If you get into specific companies, yes, there's some that require it and some that don't. Absolutely. Yeah. Depends on the company.
Mr. President, I also just wanted to comment. I had the opportunity to come out for a visit and just a tour with Representative Jose Cruz, and so I believe that was very positive. It allows them to see what is going on in our departments, to get the hands-on, and then I feel like they become an advocate for us in Metro Tech. So thank you to Mike Shelton, Superintendent, for that, setting that up. Also Site Director Jeremy Cowley and Assistant Site Director Zach Gleason for that conversation. I feel like it was very insightful, and just continuing to build those relationships, I feel are so important. So thank you for doing that. And then also, I just want to say I appreciate all the work that's been done during, this past couple weeks. I know it's been very uncertain, as you all have heard in the reports. I know a lot of you out there, teachers that are helping students deal with issues as well. I've heard of some of those reports as well, how we've just stepped in and provided resources to students during uncertain times of having a shelter, having a place to stay, just so many different components that I feel like everyone's just jumping on and doing the best that they can. So, so thank you to all of you. And that's it.
Mr. President, I have a short report. I've been, every week, Joe Myers holds a meeting, a construction meeting, and I've been attending those, all but just this last one. Every Thursday, Zoom meeting, got all the contractual players, the architect, and just as a report to the board, we're either on schedule or ahead of schedule on everything that's been contracted, and there's quite a few projects that have been completed. And I'm just tickled to be associated with such fine professionals. That's all I have with that. You just need to know that it's working, and it's working well.
Any other board member reports? I'll just echo what a few of the board members have said, and I know that it's not been easy over the last couple of weeks with this freeze, but I've been really impressed with our response and ability, and really appreciate Derek and his whole team. So it means a lot to know that that's all getting taken care of, and I know it's a debacle for everyone in the state of Oklahoma. So we'll move on to board reports. Item number 5. Do we have any questions around the board reports?
Mr. President, this is Linda Teray. I don't really have any questions, but I sure do want to say that there's a lot of information in those reports. I looked at the program regarding welding. It was mentioned, I have my notes and I won't try to go through it, but I'm just going to say that the welding program and the community partner that we have, it was stated that we had students that had completed the program, and I thought that was good to know. And we're dealing with inmates. Okay, we're reaching out in the community, but in the barbering, they gave some statistics on what's going on with barbering, and those are all programs we talked about last year or at the beginning of the year. And I do want the staff to know, at least for me, that I find that information very informative, and the data that you share is very helpful to me, and so I appreciate it. And some of them is very detailed, but the point is, it's great information that I enjoy knowing about. So thank you very much.
I agree, those are very helpful. Any other comments, questions on board reports? Seeing none, we'll move to item number 6. We have a motion to approve the minutes.
Mr. President, move to approve item number 6.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Joanne, will you call the roll?
Ms. Campos,
Aye.
Ms. Richards, Ms. Richards, Mr. Perry,
Aye.
Dr. Teray,
Aye.
Mr. McKinney,
Aye.
Mr. Latham,
Aye.
all aye.
Item number 6 carries. Item number 7, the consent docket. Do we have a motion?
Mr. President, this is Linda. I move approval.
We have a
I
motion.
second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Joanne, will you call the roll?
Ms. Richards, Mr. Perry,
Aye.
Dr. Teray,
Aye.
Mr. McKinney,
Aye.
Ms. Campos,
Aye.
and Mr. Latham.
Aye.
All aye.
Item number 7 carries. Item number 8, general business. Do we have a motion? I'll move approval. Do we have a
Second. I
Okay.
second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Joanne, will you call the roll?
Mr. Perry,
Aye.
Dr. Teray,
Aye.
Mr. McKinney,
Aye.
Ms. Richards, Ms. Campos,
Aye.
and Mr. Latham.
Aye.
All aye.
Okay. Item number 8 carries. Item number 9, personnel. Do we have a motion?
Move
I
to
move-
approve item number 9, please.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion?
Yes, could someone on the staff give me a little more color or a little more enlightenment on the resignation or I hope it was a resignation of Jade Carter?
He sent in a resignation. Have to be careful in public forum, but he took another job.
Oh, okay. All right, well, we'll do it offline then sometime.
Any other questions on personnel or discussion? Seeing none, Joanne, will you call the roll?
Mr. Perry,
Aye.
Dr. Teray,
Aye.
Ms. Richards, Ms. Campos,
Aye.
Mr. McKinney,
Aye.
and Mr. Latham.
Aye.
All aye.
Item number 10, encumbrances and purchasing. Do we have a motion?
I move approval, Mr. President.
Second.
This is Linda.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Joanne, will you call the roll?
Dr. Teray,
Aye.
Ms. Richards, Ms. Campos,
Aye.
Mr. McKinney,
Aye.
Mr. Perry,
Aye.
and Mr. Latham.
Aye.
All aye.
Item number 10 carries. Item 11,
Move we adjourn.
I'll second.
we have a motion that feels very, very familiar and a second. Joanne, will you call the roll?
Ms. Richards, Ms. Campos,
Aye.
Mr. McKinney,
Aye.
Mr. Perry,
Aye.
Dr. Teray, and Mr. Latham.
Aye.
All aye.
Item 11 carries. We are adjourned. I will say I just appreciate the board being flexible. I know we've had to move some things around. And while we don't get to see each other in person, I hope that, everybody's healthy and staying safe and warm. So look forward to seeing you guys again here in a few weeks.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. You
Have a
all
good
have a great week.
You too.
Stay healthy.
Thank you, everyone.